Now let's dive a little bit deeper into how you can enhance and improve your initial content output using prompts. You'll recall that whenever we create a new piece of content in Content Studio and we select a template, one of the things it asks us is, do we have a content brief? This is where we're able to input a prompt that's going to give the AI a little bit more context around the piece of content we want to create. So let's talk about some of the best practices we always want to keep in mind whenever we're prompting an AI model. The first is we always want to start by being clear and specific. Instead of vague instructions, provide the AI with detailed requirements. For example, instead of saying, write an eco-friendly blog, this is pretty vague and doesn't provide a lot of detail. A better prompt would be, write a 500-word blog about eco-friendly travel tips, including hacking advice and transportation methods. You can see I've gotten a lot more specific here about the type of blog that I want to create. We find that niche content performs really well in search. So the more specific niche you carve out, the better, and it's really going to resonate with users and might have long impact down the line. So always be very clear and specific, and this is going to help the AI with that direction. Again, if it only has 500 to 1,000 words to work with, we want to make sure that we're focusing those in the right areas. Another thing we can do sometimes is break complex tasks into steps. Often AI will respond really well to things being laid out step by step. An example of what that could look like is step 1. Provide an engaging introduction to our product. Step 2. List its 3 key benefits, which include X, Y, Z. And you can insert those benefits there. Step 3, end with a call to action, encouraging the reader to try a free demo. Breaking the prompt into steps like this can sometimes have a really great impact on that final content, especially if you want things to be laid out in a certain way that's going to reflect the user journey or reader journey that you want to have. Another important thing to keep in mind whenever you're adding a prompt is experiment and iterate. If the initial output isn't perfect, refine your prompt, add or adjust details, and try again. Prompt engineering is an iterative process, and we make it very easy within Content Studio to try out different things and generate different versions of articles. Another best practice to keep in mind is to keep it conversational. AI often responds really well to conversational prompts. You can think of it like you're talking to a colleague and asking for help. For example, you could even type in, can you create a blog post about benefits of remote work? And even just phrasing it like a question like that, the AI will understand it. LLMs are really great at understanding natural language, so you don't have to worry about being very formal or the way that you are prompting the AI when it comes to the language that you're using. So these are some of our best practices we always want to keep in mind and some of the core tenets that we use whenever we're creating prompts. Before we close, let's take a look at a couple of example prompts to give you a better idea of some prompts that we've used over the years. Here's one for a hospitality customer. This prompt is focusing on creating a piece of content that's going to look at local activities within the area of this property. And the purpose here is to really target guests at the top of the funnel, to let them know what's going on in this area that they could find nearby this hotel, even if they're not necessarily looking for a hotel in the area yet. They might just want to find out information about what there is to do in this local area. What's going to happen from there is we're going to get some brand awareness. We might create a piece of helpful content that really resonates with users, and that ultimately gets us seen in search and gives us more potential to bring in new guests down the line. So let's take a look at what this prompt is doing now that we understand its goals. Develop an engaging guide outlining local activities suitable for guests at hotel name located in location. So right away, I've already given the AI my business name as well as my location. This guide should encompass a diverse range of options catering to different guest preferences, such as, and this is where I have the ability to insert those categories as I want. So if I want to make sure that we're covering water sports or hiking trails or whatever that niche is that I want to cover, I have the ability to call that out here. That way, I don't end up with a very broad piece of content. If I want a hyper-focused piece of content that's about all the great water sports there are to do in this area, I can give the AI the context it needs. And if there are specific water sports I have in mind, I can give the AI that context as well. For each activity, include crucial details such as how close it is to the hotel, approximate duration, potential costs, and ideal times for participation. Emphasize any unique local experiences that reflect the culture or natural environment of the location, and offer practical tips to ensure guests have a fulfilling and enjoyable time. Now, again, I've kept the ideas in mind, what the guest has in mind of what they're looking for, and that's crucial whenever we're creating a piece of content. At the end of the day, you want that content to be helpful for the readers who are going to consume it. So by keeping their wants and needs in mind, we have that at the forefront, and we're more likely to create a piece of content that's going to perform. Let's take a look at one more example. Here's an example where we want to build an itinerary for a specific guest persona. Now you can see this prompt is a little bit more complex, but don't let it intimidate you. At the end of the day, it's still pretty simple. We start by asking it to generate a detailed, personalized itinerary for guests staying at a specific hotel or resort in a specific location. Then we designate what that length of stay is and what types of activities we want it to cover. We give it the context of whether or not we want it to target families, couples, solo travels, and adventure seekers. Now keep in mind, this prompt that we have here is a template. You can see that we have brackets where you could insert other details. And when it comes to the length of stay and who we're targeting, you have the ability to change that within this templated prompt. Again, the thing to keep in mind here is really just to provide the AI as much detail as you can. And you can see throughout this prompt that we've done that. We talk about the number of days, the time of day, the location, which activities we want to focus on, and ultimately, we keep in mind what are the readers going to want to know when they click on this piece of content. Now, it's important to understand your prompt doesn't necessarily have to be this long. AI can respond very well to simple prompts as well. The big takeaway is make sure you're giving the AI as much context as possible and as much detail as possible, especially when it pertains to your business and things the AI might not know about your business. If you want initial content output to take into account amenities that you offer or services that your business offers, you want to give it that context and give it those extra details to make sure that they're in the initial output. Or you can always add them to that initial output later. Keep in mind, at the end of the day, AI is a tool, and that initial output you receive is not meant to just be published right away. It's meant to be humanized, edited, enhanced, and fact-checked.